Verse 8, First I thank my God through Jesus Christ for you all, that your faith is spoken of throughout the whole world. First I thank my God. This is a first in order, as if Paul had said, I commence my epistle by giving thanks to God. It proceeds from that feeling of piety which ought to pervade all our actions. At the same time, he bestows on those whom he addresses the praise which they deserved. It is also a first in importance, as if he said, Above all, I render thanks to God for you. He shows that their state was a matter of great joy to him, arising both from his zeal for the glory of God and from the interest he took in those whom he addressed. My God. Paul calls God his God, indicating a lively and ardent feeling of love to him, of confidence in him, and of liberty of access, which includes a persuasion that his thanksgivings will be agreeable to God. It is also a confession of his duty and of the obligations he is under to render thanks to God, because he is his God. It is besides an intimation of his own character, as walking in communion with God. This is an example of the working of the Spirit of adoption, and of a believer taking to himself, in particular, the blessing of having God for his God, and of being a partaker of all the blessings of the new covenant, flowing from that most gracious declaration, I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Of such appropriation there are numerous instances recorded in the book of Psalms. I will love thee, O Lord, my strength. The Lord is my rock, and my fortress, and my deliverer, my God, my strength, in whom I will trust, my buckler, and the horn of my salvation, and my high tower. Psalm 18:1. Job says, I know that my Redeemer liveth. I live, says Paul, by the faith of the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. Such language it is the privilege of every believer to use, and he will do so in proportion as the love of God is shed abroad in his heart by the Holy Ghost which is given unto him. The Christian can thus address God as his own God, and often he should do so even in his public declarations. This displeases the world because it condemns the world. They consider it as a presumption, but it is only a proper expression of our belief of God's testimony with regard to his Son. Studiously to avoid such expressions on proper occasions is not to show humility, but to be ashamed of the truth. Paul thanked God through Jesus Christ, who is our great high priest, and presents the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar before the throne. It is through him alone that all our worship and all our works in the service of God are acceptable. Thus not only must our petitions ascend to the Father through the Son, but our thanksgivings also, according to the precept, By him therefore let us offer the sacrifice of praise to God continually, that is, the fruit of our lips, giving thanks to his name, Hebrews 13:15. We can have no intercourse with God but through the one mediator between God and man, John 14:6, and except through him we are not permitted even to return thanksgivings to God. Paul thanks God for all to whom he writes. He had addressed them all as saints, making no exception. It is to such exclusively that the apostolic epistles are written, whether as churches or individuals, as being all united to Christ, children of God, heirs of God, and joint heirs with Jesus Christ, who should first suffer and afterwards reign with him. In the first churches, in which everything was regulated by the apostles according to the will of God, there may have been hypocrites or self-deceivers, but as far as man could judge, they were all believers. Or if any among them appeared not to be such, the churches were told it was to their shame. If any were discovered who had crept in unawares, or were convicted of unbecoming conduct, or who had a form of godliness but denied its power, from such they were commanded to turn away. They were not to be unequally yoked with unbelievers, wherefore it is said, Come out from among them, and be ye separate.